is Kristen. I am going to be your safari guide for this journey out through the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. We're about to go get a glimpse of Africa, including some of the most amazing animals. You can feel free to have cameras out and ready to try to take pictures, but if you're going to do that, I recommend high-speed settings. There are some areas on the reserve where we are not allowed to stop. Even when we are allowed to stop, it's only going to be for a few seconds. So I also recommend that you hold on to all of your personal belongings very tightly. It could be a while before we see dropped items again. But we're going to get started right away, heading deep into the Little Ituri forest. And already you might start to see some animals hiding in the bushes out here. Up on top of the hill to the left, and in the bushes towards the front right corner of the truck, the orange color in between the green are bongos. Bongos are also known as the ghosts of the forest. They love to stay hidden away. Towards the front left of the truck, the large black and white birds sitting on the hill, those are saddle-billed stork. When they stand upright fully, they stand about 5 feet tall. But over to the right, that's an okapi. Okapi are kind of reclusive animals. They are a little bit shy. They were not first discovered by the Western world until 1901, which is pretty recent, relatively speaking. Didn't help that nobody believed them when they told people what they found. But that's because they told people they found a tall, dark brown animal with the legs of a zebra and the head of a giraffe. Everyone thought they were making it up. They weren't. It's the okapi. They're the only living relative of the giraffe because of the shape of their heads. The boys even have ossicles, which are the false horns like all the giraffe have. Across the water to the left, that's a black rhino. Unfortunately, they're also a rare view, but it's because they've been hunted nearly to extinction. There are fewer than 5,000 of those beautiful animals left in the world. Our reserve has been trying to change that. We work with groups in Zimbabwe. They even provide veterinary treatment as needed, so hopefully they won't remain such a rare view. You might get a few more views of bongos hiding in the bushes out to the left, and on the side of the hill to the right, that tall light tan antelope sticking its head out of the bushes is a greater kudu. Kudu are the second tallest antelope in Africa. Boys would stand almost 5 feet tall at the shoulder, and the girl back there, she's not too much shorter. Easiest way to tell the difference is girl kudu are one of the few African antelope that do not grow horns. Boys grow horns up to 71 inches in length. Almost 6 feet long. It makes them really noticeable. I'd like to find a few more of the larger animals, so I think it's time for us to head out of all this dense forest. We're going to go head out to the Safi River, my favorite spot to look for hippos. Typically, we get better hippo spottings at the head to the left, but better is a relative term. Hippos can be kind of hard to find. They spend most of their day under the water. They can stay completely under for about 8 minutes at a time before they need to come up for air. And they can even sleep under the water. Hippos will automatically come up for air when they need it, sometimes going right back under without waking up. It's a reflex they have that's kind of neat, but makes them harder to find. Sure enough, you might see some ripples in the water towards the front left of the truck by the edge of the island. That's a hippo walking around. Hippos have been considered by many to be excellent swimmers, which is kind of funny because they don't usually swim. They walk along the bottom of the riverbank. It's their natural buoyancy that gives them that appearance of swimming. But I'm a little bit more worried about the next animal. We're about to drive over a really rickety bridge, and as we make our way across this bridge, while there's a few more hippos in the waters out to the left, there are also Nile crocodile out here. They can snap the bones of their prey with their powerful jaws that have a crushing force of over 2,000 pounds per square inch. They will even go after prey larger than themselves, like zebra and wildebeest, but by larger, I mean bigger or taller, not necessarily longer. From the tip of the nose to the tip of the tail, this crocodile average about 16 feet long. So we're headed away from those rivers, out towards a completely different ecosystem with completely different animals. We're gonna head out to the savannah next. And speaking of different, view of a different kind of tree coming up on the right, known as the baobab. It's also known as the upside down tree, so you know which one it is. The one on the right, it kind of looks like it's got its roots sticking up in the air. Not really roots, of course, they are branches. Baobabs go leafless about 9 months out of the year to conserve water. We should find a few more of them out in the savannah, so we're gonna keep driving around. And as we drive around this corner, our first view of the savannah, the Serengeti grasslands. These grasslands stretch for miles across East Africa. They're home to millions of migrating animals every year, making it kind of like their version of a superhighway. This is the Africa we're working so hard to conserve, and already I'm seeing some animals way out in the distance to the right that I'd like to get a lot closer to. We're gonna loop around, so we'll catch up with them in just a little bit. As we loop around to get closer to the animals, like the giraffe out to the right, on the left we're at one of the edges of the reserve. You might see some fencing in between the tall bushes. I'm still keeping an eye out past the fencing. We had been hearing rumors of African painted dogs roaming around near the edge of our reserve. They're a little harder to find because of their coloring, but in the cave coming up on the left, you might find some black, white, kind of orangey brown colors swirled together. These dogs usually hunt during the early mornings and again in the late afternoons when the rising and setting sun makes them almost completely disappear. They typically spend the rest of their day relaxing like this. It's because they're endurance runners. They'll reach speeds of 55 miles per hour and hold those speeds until other animals drop from exhaustion. Now, also relaxing out to the left by the tree line, there are some sable antelope in the distance. Those are all girls. Boys' horns get longer. The boys also darken as they age. But coming up on the left, these tiny light tan antelope are probably my favorite animal on the reserve. These are full-grown springbok. That's as big as they get. They only stand about 3 feet tall. They weigh no more than 100 pounds. They'll jump 6 feet in the air repeatedly when frightened or excited. They literally spring from place to place. It's kind of fun. I know it's the giraffe towards the front right of the truck coming up on the left that are probably more exciting. A group of giraffe, quite appropriately known as a tower. This is a tower of giraffe. And that is so appropriate because they start out big. I don't see any babies in this particular grouping, but baby giraffes stand 6 feet tall when they're born. It means they can look into the eyes of any full-grown adult human standing in the grasses next to them from birth. I know height gets a little skewed from the truck, so to show you how big these adults really are, keep in mind that the armrests at the side of our truck are over 6 feet off the ground. We're very high up in the air today. They do get very big very quickly. Giraffe are considered to be adults once they reach about 3 years old. And adult giraffe will stand anywhere between 15 and 20 feet tall on average. It depends a little bit on the type of giraffe, but just like people, giraffe have height ranges. They don't all get to be 20 feet tall. There are also some massive antelope coming up on the left. These are eland. Eland are the tallest of African antelope, standing 6 feet tall at the shoulder. These animals are the size of a baby giraffe. They're also pretty good jumpers. They can jump 6 to almost 8 feet forward from a standstill. Imagine jumping your own height. Over to the right, the animals with the massive horns are Nkoli cattle. These horns average 3 to about 4 feet in length. They can reach 6 feet wide from tip to tip. The really cool part is that the horns are not solid bone. Inside of the horn is honeycomb shaped. Allows blood to circulate through the horn. Gets up there, releases heat, keeps them cooler. And out to the right, on top of the hill and towards the front right of the truck, the gray animals are part of a group of wildebeest. I say part of a group because they're one of the largest migrations in Africa. Usually hundreds of thousands are in a single grouping. We're going to keep an eye out for more. A few more giraffe coming up on the left. Yeah, there's a herd of Hartman mountain zebra out here. Different types of zebra have different types of stripes. No two individuals are exactly the same. They're each unique in their pattern. Kind of like how people have their own unique fingerprints. It's how you could learn to tell them apart from one another if you get to know them really, really well. Technically, that's true for all patterned animals. If an animal has spots, stripes, or swirls, they're all
Might make you
slightly
TikTok
different.
famous, sir.
It's so cool with zebra because they learn they're unique from birth. When a baby zebra is born, it imprints on its mom, meaning it can pick its own mother out of a group of hundreds of other zebra just based off of her stripes. A baby zebra will only attempt to nurse from its own mom. Out to the right, that's an adult male elephant. We know it's an adult male for a couple of reasons. Biggest reason is I don't see any other elephants in the area. Adult male elephants are the only ones that wander off on their own like this. Females stay in herds with the young ones up to the age of about 15. Once they reach about 15 years old, that's when elephants are considered to be adults, giving them the second longest childhood on Earth. The only creature on Earth with... Unfortunately, biggest threats to elephants are still people. Still being hunted for their ivory tusks. They also face habitat loss due to mining going on out in the Congo. Miners are looking for an ore called coltan. Coltan's used in electronics, like cell phones, laptops, tablets, things like that. So if you want to help out elephants and other animals that live in the Congo, please feel free to recycle electronics when you're finished with them. That's going to reduce the need for the ores. Helps all the animals keep their habitat. Our reserve has also been trying to decrease the amount of poaching going on, but unfortunately, when it comes to elephants, it's a little bit harder. One of the reasons it's so difficult is while elephants are beautiful animals for us to look at, they also happen to be pest animals, and they're rather large pests. They destroy farmers' crops. That's the farmers' livelihoods, which really doesn't make them very happy with the elephants. The farmers had been putting fencing around their crops, but the elephants just knock over the fences. They built bigger and better fencing, and the elephants took it as a challenge or a game. They continued to knock over the farmers' fencing and destroy their crops. Our reserve got involved with Oxford University and some locals out in Kenya. We started studying elephant behavior and communication, and in the course of our studies, we discovered something kind of interesting. Apparently, elephants, like the herd coming up on the left, they're afraid of bees. They won't go anywhere near trees that have beehives in them, even making a low rumbling vocalization to warn the rest of their herd out of the area. We started encouraging farmers to put beehives along their fencing. Not only does it keep the elephants out of the farmers' crops, it gives the farmers the added crop of honey and honeycomb they can sell. It's kind of a neat solution. There's also a flamboyance out to the left. It's a group of flamingos. These are greater flamingos, the largest and lightest pink of the flamingo species. And if you look closely, you're going to notice a bunch of them sitting on those dirt piles. They're nesting. They're sitting on eggs. To build their nest, they pile up the dirt in a kind of a cone shape. They make an indentation at the top of the cone to lay their egg into, and they're going to sit on their eggs, occasionally standing up to turn them with their beaks until the little ones hatch. When the baby flamingos hatch, they're going to be little gray-white balls of fluff with black beaks and black legs. They'll reach their full growth at about 2 months old, but it's going to take about 2 years before they get their full coloring. Now we are in luck. Towards the front right corner of the truck, coming up on the left, that's a white rhino. Much, much larger than the black rhino. This animal weighs between 4,000 and 5,000 pounds at its full growth. They also tend to be a little bit more social. They like to stay in larger groups. We'll have to keep an eye out for more of them. You might notice I call it a white rhino. They're not actually the color white. It's kind of a funny story. Under the mud, black rhino and white rhino are pretty much the same color. These animals got their name from a miscommunication. Native Dutch settlers in Africa called them wide. Wide is the Afrikaans word for wide, talking about the wide square mouths they have, as opposed to the triangular shaped mouth the black rhino has. English settlers came in, heard them saying white rhino, and all the accents thought they were saying white rhino. The name stuck. There's a few more of them hiding up on the hill to the right. And out to the left, all the way to the left-hand side of the clearing, there are cheetah on the hill. The cheetah have been causing a lot of trouble in Namibia hunting livestock. farmers out there have been hunting the cheetah to protect their livestock. Not a good solution. Cheetah are endangered. Our reserve supports training programs to train really large dogs called Anatolian Shepherds and Kenkel dogs. The dogs are huge. They scare the cheetah away from the livestock without endangering the cats, saving their lives. I think it's kind of neat as a dog saving the cats out there. Of course, cheetah are also a little strange for large cats. Many people do not consider them to be large cats at all, but that's another story entirely. Towards the front right corner of the truck, that's an ostrich walking down the road. Ostrich are birds. The lovely lady out here, she's got wings. She'll lay eggs, but she will not fly. Ostrich run. She can reach about 40 miles an hour. It's pretty quick. If you're paying attention, you notice I keep saying she. It's because of the color of the feathers. Gray-white feathers means that she's a girl. Boys are much darker, almost black in color, which makes it pretty easy to tell the difference with the ostrich. We'll get a few more views of her once she picks the side of the road. To the ostrich coming up on the right, there's also the white rhino at the top of the hill walking around. They were the biggest success story in Africa. They had made it all the way off the endangered species list. Unfortunately, they're now back on the list. Sadly, it's a constant battle with well-funded poachers using increasing technologies to hunt them. Our reserve has been trying to change that. We've been trying to spread awareness because many cultures believe rhino horn, made of the same materials as our fingernails and hair, actually has mystical and magical powers. I don't know about you, but my fingernails and hair don't have any mystical, magical, or medicinal powers whatsoever. If we can spread the awareness, we can hopefully save the rhino's horns and their lives. Out to the left, there's some large burrows in the ground. These holes are most likely warthog burrows. They are the largest of the burrowing mammals. I'll have to keep an eye out. If they're feeling threatened, they back into one of the burrows with tusks facing outwards. Never ever disturb a warthog that's backed itself into a burrow. Their tusks are very sharp. I'm not afraid to use them. More views of the ostrich running around out to the right. Closer to us, towards the front right corner of the truck, the eggs are ostrich eggs. Largest of the bird eggs, weigh about 3 pounds each. Unfortunately, kind of looks like the leftovers of a grouping, because the ostrich are not paying attention to them. Ostrich are actually really good parents. They're communal nesters. The girls all get together, lay eggs into one nest, so that all of the ostrich, including the boys, can take turns taking care of the eggs until little ones hatch. Ostrich can also get into some rather large groups. They can lay up to 78 eggs into a single nest. Just out of a group of ostrich that large, only about 21 of the eggs would have been fertilized or incubated and actually hatched. There's almost always leftovers in every group of ostrich eggs. This brings us past one of the warden's outposts, and recently the warden has been raising Nigerian dwarf goats. It's great for the reserve for a couple of reasons. First of all, dwarf goats are kind of adorable. Secondly, because of their smaller size, they take up less space. It costs less to raise than their larger cousins, but still provide a very valuable sweet goat milk that can either be drunk or sold for added income. And they tend to eat a lot of things that other animals won't, like brambles, weeds, and roughage. Clears out the area, making it easier for other animals to find the food they're looking for. I think it's really cool when it's the humans and animals living together and working together to improve the environment around them. It's really what a lot of the conservation efforts are striving for. I talked about some of the programs that our reserve has been involved in, but if you'd like more information, stop by one of the local merchandise locations. Not only can they get you a little bit more information, they can also let you know how you can help out with those programs too. But one of the biggest ways that we can help the animals we love is by helping others learn to love them too. Hopefully, the animals out here were able to inspire you. And if you learned something new, spread it around. Getting to share knowledge and excitement about the animals is something very special that if we can, all share together. Unfortunately, it's starting to